Welcome back to the Bourbon Note. I'm Ben, and we're doing another bourbon hunting video. As I said in the previous ones, I'm trying to do these maybe once every week, once every 2 weeks. So if you're into all things bourbon, please consider subscribing. We do 2 reviews a week and 1 live stream every week. So love to have you join us on that stuff. So anyway, I went to a couple of towns that are just right around the town that I live in. So the first stop is Monticello, Minnesota. So Monticello is a municipal store, so their prices tend to be a little bit higher than an average privately owned store. But got some baby Saz, as they call it, the Sazerac Rye. That's not even really allocated in our area anymore. It kind of used to be. I'd love to know if it still is in your area. But yeah, here's the kind of part of the shelves here. I want to get into that Doc Swinson's Alter Ego at some point. I'm really curious about that one. And then they got some Woodford products here. If you see the price on that Woodford Double Oak, 70 bucks. That's out of control. But these prices, 70 for rare breed rye, 52 for rare breed. That's pretty normal around here. Still haven't tried the Cedar Ridge yet. I've heard some good things about some of their offerings, but I have not pulled the trigger yet. And then 23 bucks for Old Granddad 114. That's another one that I hear is kind of hard to get in some places. So I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments. Let me know if that's something that's available in your area or if it's drying up, because there is some hype around that bottle. And then there's this Ingram River Aged Bourbon, and it's like 75 bucks, and I guess they age it on a river boat. It's probably their take on the Jefferson's Ocean style thing, where I suppose, the rocking of the barrels adds something. Here's some Obtainium Light Whiskey. This one's only 6 years, and these used to be 14 years, kind of standard, so I think they're running out of that higher age stock because all the stuff from Cat's Eye's kind of gotten a little popular, which is awesome because they've got some good stuff. Nothing too crazy over here, kind of standard stuff. Of course, we do have the Bernheim, but not the barrel proof. I'm just convinced I'm never going to find it at this point. And then I'd love to hear from you guys if you've ever had anything from this Corsair brand, because they do all kinds of weird stuff. They've got different mash bills and things like that. Knob Creek 9 for 60 bucks. That's pretty standard around here. And then the 13-year Dickel Bottle and Bond for 55. I know not everybody likes Dickel, but I think that's a good deal. 80 bucks for Henry McKenna, however, is not a good deal. So yeah, anything in the cabinet tends to be a little bit overpriced at this place, except for this Innkeeper's Blend. That's about MSRP. All right, there you have it, Monticello, Minnesota. So like I said, municipal stores, so they tend to run a little bit high, but I find their prices to be a little bit, they're kind of wonky. Like they'll have a good deal, reasonably priced on one thing, and then they'll have something else that's completely out of control, like that 70 bucks for Woodford Double Oak. That's just ridiculous. I don't think I've ever seen it priced that high. That's usually in the mid-50s around here, I believe. And then, the Henry McKenna, it's kind of one of those places where it's not a bad store, but anytime they get something that's even like remotely allocated or anything like that, it goes into the cabinet and they charge an extra 30, 40 bucks for it. So take that however you want, I guess. But yeah, they had the Rare Breed Rye, which is starting to make a comeback. It's usually around 70 bucks. And then the Rare Breed, which we've seen in all these bourbon hunting videos now, so I think it's officially back in Minnesota. And then, yeah, just some random stuff. So didn't pick anything up at this store, but we've got Big Lake, Minnesota next. Right off the bat, got another one of those Dickel 13 years. So that's pretty cool. I'm down here, $59.99 for a Maker's Mark store pick. That's incredible. Those usually run bottom line 70 bucks. So that's a really, really great deal on that. There's a couple of these Bowman Brothers products here. We don't get all of them in Minnesota, and the ones that we do get, there's not a lot of places that carry them. So I'm kind of interested. I've had a couple of their products. I think I've had both of those, and they're pretty good. But I know there's a couple other ones that some people kind of rave about, so I'd be interested in trying to get a hold of one of those. This Rebel 100 just started being sold in Minnesota not that long ago. Good bottom shelf, kind of budget-friendly pour. Got a whole bunch of Woodfords here, probably a better price on the Double Oak than the last store had. And speaking of better prices than the last store, check out the Rare Breed, $57.99. Is that what that says? That's an incredible price for that. I mean, that runs standard 70 as well. So definitely, if you live in the area, head over there and pick one of those up before they realize that they're selling that for way too cheap. And then just kind of the shelf of the basic stuff, basic mixers, and then nothing too crazy over here, but I figured I'd get some footage just in case anyone in the area sees anything that they're interested in. All right, so maybe not the biggest bourbon section at that last store, but they had a couple of really good deals. That Rare Breed was an incredible deal because, like I said before, that one goes for $70 pretty much standard, so that's an awesome deal. And then the Maker's Mark store pick, that was another great deal on there. So, you know, nothing super rare or anything like that. Those Bowman Brothers, it was cool to see those on the shelf because we don't really see those too often in Minnesota. So now I know where to find that if I'm looking for a bottle of it. But yeah, not a bad store overall. So for the next one, we're heading over to Albertville, Minnesota. We're going to Coburns. All right, this is going to be a quick little tour of Coburns. Those Savage and Cook store picks are really good. I would totally recommend those. They have a decent sized bourbon selection. They kind of got a little bit of everything that you might need. You know, basic stuff. They're known for carrying an occasional, you know, rare allocated bottle here and there, so it's always nice to stop in and check. But kind of standard stuff this time, but they always have good sales going on. They've always got good deals. This is a chain in our area, so there's a bunch of different Coburns locations all around. Got some store picks here, Maker's Mark, Knob Creek. I've had some really good luck with Knob Creek store picks from this place. And then, yeah, again, just kind of standard stuff, but great prices, good selection. And here's the allocated, or I don't know what you would call it, but the glass case. Some 2XO, but I did notice a 1792 small batch. All right, so nothing crazy at Coburn's, but again, good selection, good prices. It's always a good kind of go-to store. I did notice that 1792 small batch was in the glass case. I'm not sure what that's all about because those are usually available everywhere, but I have been hearing that that's for some odd reason starting to become slightly allocated. I don't know what the logic behind that is. But I did talk to a friend of mine that runs a liquor store, and she said that that came in on her allocations list at some point. So I don't know. That used to be everywhere. I don't know if it's blowing up all over the internet or something like that. What's causing that? But so anyway, 1792 small batch. They had the Henry McKenna. I think it was like 65 bucks. A little more than I want to pay for it, but you know, some people wouldn't mind paying that for it. So there you go. So anyway, I didn't pick up any bourbon on this trip, but I do have a bottle here that I want to share with you guys. I found this doing kind of some bourbon hunting a while ago before I started making these videos. And we haven't done this on the channel yet, and the reason for that is because it's kind of I guess it's kind of rare. It's a cool find. I'm going to bring it in and show it to you. Bam! Old Grandad. Now, Old Grandad is obviously not an allocated or rare brand, but this one happens to be the 86 proof. They quit making this like 10 years ago. I think they discontinued it in 2013, I read. And so I just thought this was cool. I was in a super small town, kind of in the middle of nowhere in Minnesota, and I went in and they had a whole shelf full of this stuff for $15.09. And I just thought it was awesome because, again, it's completely discontinued. I don't think I'll ever see another bottle of this, but they had a whole shelf of it, so I picked up 3 of them, and I did open one, and so I'm going to go ahead and have a pour of this right now. The reason we've never done a review of this is because I'm assuming nobody has it, just because it's probably so hard to find now that it's been discontinued for 10 years. It was literally just collecting dust on this liquor store shelf. So I thought that's cool. This is the kind of stuff that I think is really fun to run into. It's like, yeah, if you find a crazy allocated bottle you can get your hands on, or a really cool single barrel, that's a lot of fun. But when you find something like this that just doesn't exist anymore for the most part, or that's on its way out of existence, I think that's really cool. So yeah, like I said, I picked up a couple of bottles of this just for, well, because I wanted to taste it, and then just to have a couple of unopened bottles just as collector's items, and there were still a bunch on the shelf when I left, so. I'm kind of a fan of the Old Grandad offerings, the 114 and the bonded. 80 proof one is a little low proof for me. This isn't too much higher at 86, but we'll give her a shot here. Tons of cinnamon on the nose. That's kind of what Old Grandad is in general, at least for me. Not bad. It's sweet and cinnamony, but it's a little weak on the proof, but totally worth the 15 bucks, especially since it's, like I said, a discontinued bottle that at some point there's just not going to be any of these left. So anyway, next bourbon hunting video, I'm not sure where it's going to be, but I know Greg and I have talked about trying to make a trip up to our favorite liquor store to go do a video up there, and we're going to try to do that one together. That's another reason why I haven't been buying too much bourbon lately, is because I'm kind of waiting to do maybe like a bottle haul video or something. We'd get a few bottles at a time and kind of do a fun video about that. So, and there just wasn't anything that I really needed on the shelf right now. If I would have run into something, you know, that I've really been looking for and can't find, I would have picked it up, but you know, just kind of ran into some basic stuff and didn't really happen to need anything at the moment because I've got a couple of bottles on hand. So anyway, thank you very much for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Every time you interact with the channel like that, it gets us a little more into the YouTube algorithm, makes us a little bit more likely to come up in a search if somebody's Googling bourbon hunting videos. So anyway, cheers.